Hello, welcome to the latest episode of Data Unchained. I'm your host, Molly Presley. For those of you that this may be your first time joining the show, I'll tell you a little bit about what got this podcast going. So if you think back to maybe 30, 40 years ago with the advent of large-scale computing, typically the organizational structure was all the people, the applications were centered around a computer, a mainframe that was taking up a large portion of a large building. Now, as technology has evolved and we can process in our cell phones more than those full-size building computers can process, and we have data distributed everywhere from sensors and vehicles and medical instruments across clouds into massive GPU clusters for AI, data has become very distributed. And we're just generating massive amounts of data. And what Data Unchained focuses on is how do you find all of that data? What are the problems associated with such massive distributed data? What are some of the tools that are available out there, best practices for your business, as well as technology tools to help you with this? And then, what are some of the business outcomes if you tackle this problem that you might be able to achieve for your business strategy? So today I'd like to welcome Sanjay Annadate. He is the VP and business head of EMEA for Latent View. Sanjay, welcome to the show.
Hey, Molly. It's a pleasure to speak to you today. And thank you for inviting me on the podcast. It's a pleasure to speak to you today.
Great to have you there. So you're in the UK, I believe, enjoying the rainy UK weather today?
Absolutely. Rain is always a constant thing in this part of the world. And sadly, it's still raining outside.
Well, we have a great deal of snow here in Colorado, so I can empathize a bit. Before we get started talking about data and technology, would you tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to your role at LatentView?
Sure, absolutely. Sanjay Annadate, as I lead the EMEA business for Latent View Analytics. I have been with the firm for last 2.5 years, and I'm based in UK, but travel across Europe quite often because of the business I had there. In the industry, I've spent around 3 decades. So I started my career in '94, so exactly around 30 years ago. In these 30 years, I have performed multiple roles, multiple leadership roles for various organizations. Prior to joining LatentView, I was with Accenture as an MD into their technology business, spent around 7.5 years at Accenture and another 16 and odd years with Wipro. All along, the data has been quite a key theme of my career, and I've spent a lot of time in large digital transformation for the customers, involving various technologies such as SAP, Oracle, and CRM. And what I have always seen is how the data space has evolved from 3 decades ago till now, and it's just getting more and more important for the business. In my role as a Latent View at Latent View Analytics, what we are trying to do is to help really large customers to realize the value from data, really get actionable insights to help them make meaningful decisions to really drive the business performance up, and that's predominantly the thing which really helps the business to really drive the outcomes, leveraging the insights from data in a more effective manner. I have been living in UK for the last 25 years. I have also spent 2 years in US. Early part of my career serving General Electric. So all along, it's been a great journey so far.
So it sounds like at LatentView, you're certainly tackling data problems. What kind of products do you have? Are you a solutions company, something like Accenture, or maybe go a little bit more into just what is your business model?
We are predominantly a services company. What we try to do is build analytics solutions for the customers to really address the problems across the business functions, right from customer-facing functions to the back office functions. But however, we don't start from scratch. We have multiple pre-built solutions, which we call them as a growth accelerators. And 9 out of 10 times, generally, these growth accelerators help us to start from not start from scratch. So we always have 60-70% solutions built for customers' challenges. We bring them to the fore, and then we build additional 30% of the solution to really customize the solution for the customer's need, and then we deploy it to the customer. So we are not a SaaS company as such; we are a services company, but we have a lot of homegrown solutions which acts as accelerators for us to drive the solutions for the customers.
Gotcha. So, what kind of problems do customers have that they call you for? They pick up the phone and say, Sanjay, I have this major problem. What type of things are they
Yeah.
calling for?
So generally, we have like say 4 or 5 types of key. Means of course we get called for multiple areas, but if I can summarize, say 4 or 5 key problems where we have the forte is mainly in the space of marketing. So many of the customers we have, they have a lot of needs around how to really optimize the marketing, how to really drive the customer segmentation, how to really build holistic offerings for the customers, leveraging the marketing as a channel. So marketing is our key area where we have been helping multiple large customers in really making marketing more effective, marketing spend more efficient, as well as trying to improve the customer growth leveraging the marketing. The second area where we have been trying to help is on the consumer insights for the innovation space. So mainly in the CPG companies, lot of large CPG companies are really struggling to stay on top of the consumer trends, because the consumer trends keep evolving very fast, and naturally they with the influx of so much of social media data, they really do not have like all the tools in hand to stay on top of the trends. And so that's a second area where we are really trying to help R&D functions of the large consumer companies to really drive the innovation, new product development. So that's the second area where we are really helping the customer. Third area is around optimizing the supply chain. So that's an area where we really have strong expertise. Again, trying to help really de-risk the supply chain, really optimize the supply chain operations, minimize the inventory, improve the logistics, and also the in terms of minimizing the carbon footprint. So trying to make the supply chain more sustainable, reduce the carbon footprint, reduce the emissions aspects, and specifically in Europe part, we see a lot of inquiries in the supply chain space where customers are really meaningfully trying to reduce the carbon footprint when they are shipping their products. So this is also an area. And lastly, we have recently acquired a company called Decision Point, where they bring in a lot of strong expertise in revenue growth management. And in the last 2-3 years, where the cost of living, inflation has been really big challenge in the market, a lot of companies where growth is getting a strong hit because of the inflation and the cost of living, customers have started looking inwards to really optimize their revenue management function, really try to drive the revenue growth via multiple channels, such as promotions, such as optimizing their profitability, optimizing their cost, optimizing their assortment, pricing. And that's an area which the Decision Point has been specialized, and we are also seeing significant amount of conversations, opportunities in the revenue growth management. So broadly, these are 4 or 5 areas where we see a lot of requirements coming from the customers.
Okay, excellent. So, as these customers come to you with these sorts of challenges in their business, how does data in their organizational data, or maybe AI data, how is data come into play in both their challenges as well as how you, from your services perspective, take a look at their organization?
Yeah, so mainly two parts. structured data which comes from generally the ERPs or Salesforce or the systems which have been used as a system of records for many years. So that's fairly clear because the data is in a very structured format and is you can leverage the data very efficiently and effectively. Where the data which has been flooded massively is the social media data or more unstructured data. And I think that's the data which customers have been really trying to analyze. Means they're struggling to analyze the unstructured data more efficiently than the structured data. And the bigger challenge we have seen customers are having is combining these two data sources and then making the meaningful insights. I think that's where the whole value from the services player like us comes in, who are able to really leverage the insights by combining both structured and unstructured data together and then generating the insights. If I can give an example of, say, consumer insights for a CPG company. Now, CPG company historically will have the data for their past sales in terms of the market campaigns and a lot of structured data they will have. What they generally don't have everything at their fingertips is the market data specifically around the new evolving trends, what customers really like, what customers really don't like, what competitors are doing. And I think that is where we are able to combine this unstructured data from the social media platform, various platforms such as TikTok, YouTube, various blogs, forums. We are able to ingest all the data, including the companies such as Nielsen's and IRIs, also the competitors' data, and then combining it with their in-house data, and then generating the insights that, hey, these are the trends which are really resonating in the market. You should really zero in on these trends to really build a new product effectively. And I think that's where the biggest value comes in, where we are able to combine these both sources in a very effective way.
And why do you think they haven't solved this problem? Just thinking of the CPG example for now, that kind of data has been getting generated, for at least maybe a decade now, and they're not unique in that market. I think that's true that most
Yeah.
organizations are tackling this now, and they weren't
Hmm.
before. Sometimes my opinion is because it's difficult because it's not in a structured database. Others is because they didn't have a clear business reason or business need to tackle it. But I'm curious, what is your perspective of why is this an important topic now?
See, the reason it is important is if you don't tap that information, then you will be behind the curve. You will definitely miss out the key trends in the market. So it is absolutely paramount for the companies to really tap that information. Now, why they are behind in this space? Naturally, see, their focus has been always to look at the internal data than external data. Naturally, they on and off they have been trying to procure these insights, the trends from specialist companies. But what they have not been able to do is holistically combine everything together and drive the proper insights in a very holistic manner. They have been doing this exercise in pockets. So you procure trends, you procure the market research data, you get your own data, but not able to really join all the dots together in a holistic manner. The second thing is all the many large organizations have multiple departments, and most of the department they work in silos. They focus only on their function rather than trying to really work together like a single function. And that also has been a big concern we have come across whenever we are delivering the solutions to the customers. We see there are individual departments and they only focus on their own function. They really don't look outside, and I think that's another challenge which comes across quite often. And so this is where we are able to then add value, because it's not that they are not doing it, but it misses the holistic angle, and I think that's where we are able to solve.
I agree. We hear a lot about it's not just data silos from an infrastructure perspective, but
Yeah.
information silos within an organization across people,
Absolutely.
groups, projects. I'm curious, do you feel like most of these organizations are trying to use this data in AI strategies, or is it not quite that far along and it's more kind of supplementing their BI focus?
Yeah, I think more like latter. But what we have seen now is specifically across Europe. There is a significant amount of appetite to leverage AI in a more holistic manner, and we are seeing that coming quite often in the conversations we are having. Is they want to really leverage AI to optimize their the functions to really drive productivity, really get meaningful insights from the AI, and at the end of the day to cut the costs, because that's a big challenge most of the business are facing. So they are now trying to really go hard and fast. However, I think as you know, in Europe, the AI Act as is now in place for over 6 months now. Actually, customers are quite keen on ensuring that they are ensuring the compliance to the AI Act. GDPR is also in place, so they are trying to drive the balance between innovation and the regulation along with the growth. So they are trying to create a balance between all the three. But there is appetite, and it's more driven because of the market conditions as well. So they don't have unlimited cash to spend on this. So they are naturally trying to optimize the cash or investment, whatever they are making, to drive the performance. So they are being very wise in terms of trying to spend meaningfully and then get the outputs quickly.
It seems like there's two areas potentially customers need help with. Some is the technology, what are some of the
Hmm.
applications they might put in place, and some is their business processes, maybe some of their governance requirements. Let's maybe talk about technology first. So I know, and as you talked about ERP systems and
Mm.
some of the business intelligence space, there's pretty well established tools and technologies for that space. When you think about this, and I'm thinking of whether it's Databricks or Snowflake or Tableau, those types of technologies.
Yeah.
When you think about this broader space, are there certain technologies you're guiding your customers towards using?
If I roll back, say 3 4 years back, the main cloud players mainly were the Amazon, Google, and Microsoft Azure were the main. But if you last 3 4 years, we have seen a significant shift towards leveraging the newer platforms such as Databricks, Snowflake, and I think they are significantly picking up the market space very effectively. So what customers are now trying to do is have a combination of both. The large hyperscalers such as Azure plus Databricks as a combination, and then go forward with their solution. So we are now seeing the ecosystem is having multiple players, multiple platforms, and that's the common theme we are seeing across, where they are trying to leverage the best of breed capabilities of these platforms which they are bringing to the market. Naturally, the companies like Databricks, Snowflake, they are also enhancing their own AI capability as well. They are also introducing their own solutions to the customers. So naturally, they are also trying to increase their market presence by enhancing their capabilities as well. But we are definitely seeing the more large customers are now going with a best of breed approach, where they have a hyperscaler, but they also go with either Snowflake or Databricks to supplement the hyperscaler capabilities.
The company I work for, Hammerspace, we're kind of more at the infrastructure side of aggregating data sets to get them to these various spaces, so you're trying to get data aggregated, and some's going into Snowflake, some maybe is going into Google, and helping to organize those data sets. And we definitely see very similar where organizations need to capture and aggregate, but then they want to use best of breed analytics tools. And now as AI models are becoming more established, having some selection there. And so this kind of many to one relationship of data to applications and services is a pretty big shift, I would say, in how organizations are setting up their business processes.
Yeah, absolutely. In last, say, 1 year, the perspective towards AI within Europe also has significantly changed. I remember conversations around a year back where some of the large financial institutes were basically absolutely against OpenAI or ChatGPT, saying that it's basically posing huge risk to the business. Today, the same businesses are now saying, I want to use the OpenAI to develop a sales briefing document. I want to
Hmm.
use OpenAI to give it to my sales team so that they can leverage it when they're talking to their customers. So there's a significant shift in a very short span of time. We are seeing in the market towards AI. Naturally, they are also being cautious about implementing, but the resistance has significantly been reduced. So they are now more open towards leveraging these capabilities because they can see the speed to value has is significantly improved, and I think that's where their attitude and their ambitions toward this has changed.
Does your organization, as you work on the consulting services with your companies, do they get
Yeah.
involved in helping to ensure compliance and governance? You know, GDPR in the past, but now some of these AI regulations that are starting to be established. Do you help your customers understand what those are and be prepared for them as well?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's part and parcel of the whole services we provide. Naturally, when customers buy services from our side, they want to ensure that we are complying to the regulations. So naturally, we have to ensure that the solutions we deliver are complying to the AI Act as well as the GDPR. At the same time, we also work with their compliance department to ensure that they are also happy with the solutions we are deploying and delivering to the customers. But yes, that's the key aspect we keep in mind.
And so as you look into the future of, you know, some of this like ethical, sustainable AI, where do you see all this going? Like you said, is the adoption trends and not just technology, but organizations' perspective on using AI has changed a lot. Where do you see things going in the coming years?
This space is significantly going to grow. I think customers have slowly started moving towards implementing the AI in a fairly bigger way. So basically, they are trying to move away from proof of concepts to now really implementing across the business in a very phased manner, though not like they are not going wholesale at this point of time, but there is definitely a significant drive towards moving to a properly productionized version of the AI. They are also trying to keep a very close eye on the GDPR changes, which are there will be changes coming in GDPR in terms of the AI expansion around risk and innovation. Last week, EU has announced 200 billion investments in the AI space. So the EU is also keeping a very close eye and trying to give the businesses a balancing act when they're trying to balance regulation with innovation. So even EU is acting more sensibly towards this space, and they are also creating more significant investments in this space to basically encourage businesses to really go forward and not become a hurdle in terms of trying to drive the business performance leveraging this. So this is definitely going to grow. At the same time, I think it will be slightly behind the curve as compared to the North American market, purely because of the additional regulation they are here. But I don't think they'll be significantly behind.
And it seems like there's now more budget opening up in many different countries globally around investments in the compute power, the model development, things like that. How do you see it when you talk to your customers as far as them having budget for AI projects? I think about a year ago there was some pretty famous articles in the Wall Street Journal about organizations can't quite figure out how to make money on AI, and then going into 25 there was a lot of discussions about what should the AI budget be? Should we carve off something special for it? Where are you seeing that, at this point, kind of in the beginning of 2025?
I can't quote the name of the customer, but in the recent conversations, I've been speaking to some of the large financial institutes in Europe. They have already told us that they are already putting the AI investment as a part of their business plan for this financial year as well as coming financial years. So they have already started putting money aside for the investments in the specific AI use cases. And these are not typically the BI or the MI in the historic space. These are proper AI based use cases which have a meaningful outcomes defined business case attached to it. So businesses have already started making move. They already started putting money aside, and they have realized that they can't stay behind this on this initiative, because if you don't invest now, they will stay behind and they will lose out the market share. So naturally, there is a change, and I think they have started putting this as a part of the business plan, part of the investment strategy for coming years.
And I think that's exciting to see, that organizations now are starting to figure out what is the strategy, have some understanding of how to monetize. And that's a big change versus, just even 6, 12 months ago. And so, kind of tying up and going back to something you were talking about at the beginning about digital transformation, what are organizations' digital transformation goals this year?
Most of the organizations is across Europe, I see their biggest, like if the top one or two challenges they are facing, firstly is the growth. There is definitely the growth is a big concern for CPG and the retail, manufacturing, industrial. So I think they are trying to keeping in mind the growth, not being very rosy, coming it up as a very rosy picture. They are trying to optimize the cost in house. Basically, they are trying to optimize the operations, all of the processes, and that's where their whole huge focus on. Second thing they are trying to do is, even within the limited market share, how do I capture competition's market? I think that's the second thing. We are most of the companies are now, specifically consumer facing companies, are trying to see how they can grow and capture competition's market share, because that is, when the market is not growing, the only way you can grow is capture competition's market share and optimize your own operations. So these are the two top areas I see the businesses are focusing on.
Okay, great. And Sanjay, if organizations are listening to this call and would like to reach out to you or to LatentView at large, what's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, so my details, means my first name dot last name at latentview.com is my email address, and you can always reach out to me on my LinkedIn. There is a corporate website. Reach out to them via contact us. There are multiple ways you can reach out, and it will be a pleasure to speak to you, share our thought leadership in this space in terms of how we can help businesses to really optimize the business performance, really solve your complex business problems, because we have over 18 years of experience of solving complex problems for large businesses. So we certainly will be very keen to discuss and offer our advice on how to solve the problems, leveraging our own past experience.
Excellent. And how does your process work? If one of our listeners is thinking this sounds interesting, but they're not sure, is this a massive investment to bring you all in and take a look at their company, or is there a way to kind of crawl, walk,
Yeah.
run? Maybe just talk a little bit about that process as well.
Yeah, and I think it's a very good question. And I think many new customers, when they speak to us, naturally, this is the key question they have on top of their mind, that hey, I'm not ready to make a big investment because I don't know you. So naturally, what we always do is our approach is always start small. We before even starting the journey, we give enough confidence to the customers that hey, we have solved this problem. This is how we have solved. These are the outcomes we have delivered. So that's a step one. Step two then is we carve out a small proof of concept for developing a solution which will demonstrate that we can solve the problem. So we always call that as a proof of concept, or minimum viable product phase. Whether we take a market, we take a country, we take a particular segment of the problem, we build a solution, we show it to the business, we demonstrate the value, and then we scale up. So that's how that way business really doesn't need to secure a big investment before they start the journey. So they can always start small, they see the value, and then we go forward from there. What we also do is we commit to the outcomes. We don't just make false promises. We commit to the outcomes before we start the journey, and then we deliver. We stand by the business to deliver the outcomes. So we are a very outcome focused company, and that's the reason we have been working with multiple large organizations for many years.
Excellent. Sanjay, thank you for joining the show, sharing some of your insights. I think you have an amazing background working with, of course, very well-known services companies, and every organization, I think, is trying to move fast to change quickly, to keep pace, and
Absolutely.
organizations like yourselves are invaluable in that process. So thank you for taking the time to share your insights and your expertise.
Thank you, Molly. It's a pleasure to speak to you today, and thanks a lot.
Thanks for listening to Data Unchained, powered by Hammerspace. To learn more, visit hammerspace.com. If you have a guest you would like to hear on the show, email me at molly@hammerspace.com.